I stared at my phone, rereading the message from my mother for the 5th time. Monica, we need $15,000 for Christmas. Guests are coming. We need decorations, catering, and something new for Belle to wear. No please. No, how are you? Just another demand, business as usual. I'm Monica, 33, living in Minneapolis, financial manager by title, family ATM by role. I typed, I'll send the money today, then hesitated before adding a second message. Am I invited to this Christmas party too? Her reply was instant, a single smiley face emoji. No words, no answer, just that smug little yellow face. I shouldn't have been surprised. It's been like this for years, but it wasn't always. When I was little, before Belle came along, things were different. My parents, Kevin and Teresa, were just 21 when I was born. Back then, life meant bedtime stories, pancake sundaes, and hikes through northern Minnesota trails. Then Belle arrived, the planned child, the center of the universe. Mozart in the nursery, baby sign language, flashcards before she could walk. Last year I found our old photo albums. For every picture of me, there were 10 of her, in the rare family shots. I'm off to the side, half in the frame, eyes closed, while Belle stands beaming in perfect focus. Just send the money, I muttered, opening my banking app. $15,000 gone in seconds, from my down payment fund for a condo in Uptown. It's always been like this. I graduated college with honors. I called home, hoping they'd be proud. I can't make it. Belle has rehearsal. Mom had said. That was it. That was all. They never visited, never called just to ask how I was. But every December, like clockwork, they remembered to ask for money. Monica, Belle needs new boots. Can you send $250? Monica, we're signing her up for piano. Only $4,000 this semester. And I sent it, always. It barely touched my paycheck. And some part of me, some foolish, aching part, still wanted their approval. Then came the big ask. 2 years ago. Belle got into St. Catherine's, Dad said over the phone, his tone stiff. We need help with tuition. I asked if she'd gotten any scholarships, after all the private lessons and programs. Silence. Then Mom snapped. That's not the point. You need to support your sister. Her future matters more than your pride. So I paid $12,000 a month. Told myself it was temporary. But soon after, we bought a new SUV. Gave Belle the sedan. You'll cover the payments, right? I pushed back, briefly. Stop being selfish. Monica, Mom said. You're the oldest. You owe this family. And somehow, I was sending another $2,000. Last December, I spent another $1,000 on gifts, a designer bag for Belle, a luxury watch for Dad, a spa day for Mom. Then I loaded my car and made the 6-hour drive to Duluth. I hadn't been home in almost a year, but it was Christmas. Maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. Laughter and music poured from the house as I stepped into the snow, arms full of bags and wrapped boxes. I knocked, heart thudding. Mom opened the door. Her smile faltered when she saw me. Monica, what are you doing here? She asked, not moving from the doorway. I blinked. I sent the money. I told you I was coming. She frowned. I didn't think you'd actually show. You usually avoid these noisy get-togethers. It's Christmas, I said softly. I never miss Christmas. With a sigh, she stepped aside. Well, you're here. Come in. Everyone's already eating. The scent of cinnamon and roasted meat hit me as I stepped inside. Laughter echoed from the dining room. At the center of it all, glowing like a Hallmark heroine, was Belle in a sparkling red dress. Look who showed up. Mom called flatly. Dad looked up. Monica, didn't know you were coming. He gave me a quick, distracted hug before turning back to Uncle Ron. Belle didn't rise, barely looked up. Hey, she mumbled, then turned back to whisper with Cousin Melanie. I slipped my gifts under the tree, already crowded, and slid into a seat beside Aunt Grace, the only person who ever asked how I was. Monica, what a lovely surprise, she said, squeezing my hand. How's work? Good. I just got promoted. Senior financial manager. That's amazing. You always were the smart one, she said, loud enough for the whole table to hear. And for a moment, just a flicker, I felt seen. I caught the flicker of irritation on my mother's face as she spooned mashed potatoes onto Belle's plate. Dinner blurred into background noise. No one mentioned who paid for Belle's college. No one thanked the person who funded the SUV parked outside. And when the gifts were opened, Belle held up the designer purse I'd wrapped for her, muttered a flat thanks, and moved on. If you've ever given everything and still felt invisible, stay with me, because what happened next changed everything. My parents gave me a lukewarm thank you for their gifts. It sounded like a script they'd rehearsed out of obligation. Then my mom handed me a lumpy, haphazardly wrapped package. This is for you, Monica. I peeled back the paper. A plain gray scarf. Thick, scratchy wool. Men's sizing. I knew it instantly, it was Uncle Jim's brand. He wasn't at the party this year. Thanks, I said, forcing a smile. But inside, something hollowed out. They hadn't even bothered to get me something of my own. By 11 o'clock, the crowd had thinned, laughter had faded. I stood and rubbed my eyes. I think I'll head to bed, I said, reaching for my bag. My mother didn't even look up from the sink. Your old room's taken. The cousins from Brainerd are staying there. Okay. I can crash on the living room couch? She shook her head. That's where Uncle Dave's sleeping. I paused. So, where am I supposed to sleep? A shrug. We didn't expect you, Monica. Maybe try a hotel. It's Christmas Eve. You know everything's booked. From the kitchen, Belle snorted. Guess there's no room at the inn, or the shelter, she muttered. The words hit harder than they should have. I turned to my dad. He looked at me, then looked away. That was it, the final fracture, quiet and clean. I set the scarf down on the coffee table, picked up my bags, and walked out into the freezing Minnesota night. Every hotel was full. Calls to friends went unanswered or ended with apologies. So I drove 6 hours back toward Minneapolis, through snow and silence, stopping only for gas and coffee. At 3 a.m., I pulled into a roadside motel. Merry Christmas, said the man at the front desk. Long night? Family emergency, I murmured. He nodded, then handed me a small box. Have some Christmas pie. On the house, no one should be alone today. And in that moment, a sliver of kindness from a stranger, I felt more seen than I had in years. We chatted briefly. He told me about his grandkids, his cherry pie recipe. Then he handed me a room key. I climbed the stairs, ate the pie, and collapsed into bed, the exhaustion washing over me like a wave. When I woke, it was Christmas Day, sunlight slicing through the blinds. By evening, I was back in Minneapolis. My apartment was cold, still, silent. I checked my phone. No messages, no missed calls, no one asking if I'd made it home. Why would they? I wasn't family, I was funding. The day after Christmas passed in a fog. By night, I curled on the couch and opened Instagram. Belle's post appeared instantly, a carousel of glittering party photos, smiles, champagne, twinkling lights. Spent Christmas with the people who matter most. I wasn't in a single one. Something snapped. I opened my banking app, stared at the upcoming transactions. $1,200 tuition payment for Belle on the 1st. $800 SUV payment on the 5th. My fingers hovered. Then, tap, tap, cancelled. No more, I whispered into the stillness. 2 weeks passed. Silence. No calls, no messages. I dove into work, booked a meeting with a realtor, said yes to that drink with Matt from accounting. Then, in early January, my phone rang. Mom? Monica, she snapped. Belle was called to the financial office. Her tuition's late. Fix it. No greeting, no concern, just orders. It's not a mistake, I said. I cancelled it. Silence. You what? How could you be so selfish? Family helps family. You threw me out on Christmas Eve, after I paid for everything, after I showed up. You're being dramatic. No, I'm being done. I also canceled the car payments. In the background, I heard my dad. How did she? Then a crash of something hitting the floor. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up. The phone lit up again, calls, texts, buzzing non-stop. Belle, you petty. Jealous freak. I always knew you hated me. Dad. After all we did for you, this is how you repay us? Mom. Ungrateful. You'll regret this. Monica. Family is forever. You're burning bridges you can't rebuild. That was the last one I read before I turned my phone off. When I turned it back on the next morning, the notifications weren't just from them anymore. It was cousins I barely remembered, an uncle from Rochester I saw once a year, all echoing the same script. You owe your parents. Family means sacrifice. I was seconds from muting everyone when a new message appeared from Aunt Grace. Monica, sweetheart, can we talk? I'd really like to hear your side. I called her immediately. She answered on the first ring. Your mother's been telling everyone you cut the family off, she said gently, that they paid for your college, helped with your car, and now you're refusing to help Riel in her time of need. I let out a dry laugh. None of that is true. I told her everything, the full scholarship, the part-time jobs, the rent I covered working 30-hour weeks. I told her about the $1,200 monthly tuition support, the $800 car payments, month after month. There was a pause. They can't be, she whispered. Your mom said they're still paying off your student loans and Belle's tuition. I've never had student loans, I said, and I can prove it. I spent the next hour gathering receipts, bank statements, recurring transfers, years of quiet, invisible giving. I even built a timeline. Then I sent it all to Aunt Grace. An hour later, she called back. Monica, I'm so sorry. Your mother lied, and your father backed her up. They wanted the credit without the cost. With your permission, she said, voice steady, I'd like to share this with the family. They deserve to know the truth. Please do. And for the first time in years, I felt the weight start to lift. I'm proud of you, she added quietly, and I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I saw how they treated you. I always did. 2 days later, my phone started buzzing again, but this time, the messages were different. Monica, I'm so sorry. I had no idea how much you've been doing. Your aunt showed us the proof. We owe you an apology. Apparently, Aunt Grace had created a new family group chat, one without my parents or Belle, and dropped the receipts. The truth had finally come out. Even my cousin Emily called. Your parents are furious with Aunt Grace. They're saying she's turning everyone against them. All she did was tell the truth. I know, and for what it's worth, we're on your side now. I didn't know if I wanted sides, but I couldn't deny it felt good to be seen. My parents kept calling. I ignored them, but I read their texts. Riel only has 2 years left. You can't abandon her like this. We made mistakes, but punishing your sister isn't right. Even their apologies cast me as the villain. Aunt Grace kept me in the loop. My parents were spinning it again, saying I'd twisted everything, that they had supported me all along. But fewer people were buying it. The numbers didn't lie. How's Belle doing? I asked one afternoon. She's adjusting, Aunt Grace said. They sold the SUV, gave her back the old car. That didn't last, she's taking the bus now. I felt a flicker of guilt. I let it pass. She's still in school? Yep, working part-time at the campus cafe. Your mom complains she barely has a social life anymore. I smiled. Sounds a lot like my college experience. I know, Aunt Grace said softly. They always treated you and Belle differently. I should have said something years ago. Water under the bridge, I said. We both knew it wasn't. But healing had started. Spring faded into summer. I stayed focused, working, saving, building the life I used to dream of. I started dating someone new, Alex. Steady, kind, grounded. He valued effort, respected boundaries, never made me feel small. I told him about my family early on. He didn't flinch, just listened. One night in June, I opened Belle's Instagram for the first time in months. Gone were the glitter and designer labels. Her new posts were quieter. Textbooks. Cafe lattes. Quotes about resilience. Life is harder than I thought. Nothing worth having comes for free. I stared at the screen, conflicted. A part of me felt vindicated. She was finally tasting the reality I'd lived since I was 18. But another part just felt sad. We were both shaped by expectations we never chose, puppets in the same toxic play. I didn't reach out. Not yet. The wound was still too fresh. By fall, I'd saved enough for a down payment on a condo near work. Small, sleek, mine. Signing the mortgage papers felt like crossing a finish line. Congratulations, homeowner, Alex said, grinning as he handed me the keys. He painted walls, built bookshelves, turned it into a home. And for once, I wasn't alone. A year after that Christmas, I still hadn't spoken to my parents or Belle. My dad's last message came in October. "We miss you, Monica. When you're ready, we're here." I didn't reply. I wasn't ready. I wasn't sure I ever would be. Aunt Grace remained my tether to that world. We met for coffee in November. "Riel's different now," she said, "still working, still in school. Your parents could help, but she insists." "Good for her," I said. And meant it. "Do you ever think about reconnecting?" she asked gently. I took a long sip. "Sometimes," I said, "but then I remember Christmas, the lies, being thrown out after paying for their holiday." She squeezed my hand. "You don't owe them anything. I just want you to be happy." "I am," I said. And realized it was true. That night, while cooking with Alex in our cozy kitchen, my phone buzzed. Belle's latest post. "Life is hard, and it's supposed to be. That's how we grow." I smiled. Maybe there was hope for her. Maybe. But either way, I had peace. I had finally come home, to myself. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done? Or tell your own story. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. This journey's just getting started.